Greetings, fellow micekin. Rhadamant here. Thank you for tuning in to the first episode of a new series covering Whiskerwood. If you would like to skip the game's overview, please use YouTube chapters. Whiskerwood is a city-building strategy game where you settle islands as colonizing mice for your oppressive cat overlords. Routine and punitive taxes are levied against you, forcing you to strip the island of its natural resources and beauty. Or perhaps you try to rebel against the fat cats. The building mechanics in this game is very similar to Timberborn. So those who have played Timberborn, this is like a really easy transition. But with less of a focus of managing water. There isn't like a flood mechanic, seasonal stuff, anything like that. And instead it focuses a little bit more on complex industry chains, but not in the demo. And I, of course, am playing the demo. So let's get started with a random new island cluster to settle. So eventually there will be a lot more options for game choices, but there's a peaceful and a default difficulty for now. You can control the island size, map size, extra islands, etc. And we'll name this Yoda Fort. Right now, there's only the Far Frontier scenario, so I'm not going to talk about the other ones. And for the starting colony, it is on the right, where you random it. Your starting resources are static, they don't change. And what I want to do is I want to find a starting group that has some decent stats. Like maybe not people who are rude. Masochist, loner, pessimist, no. Warm snores, healthy, rude. Sickly, well, actually, sickly is not really a thing. Strong shoulders, swift, and snores. Okay, this will do. So we have 2 explorers. We've got a miner, a farmer, and an engineer. Got it. And I will be raffling off the colonists to you guys. So we will have we'll have our starting people named after you all. Well, our starting islands are kind of obvious. This one is totally barren.
Royal Scout ships identified your assigned archipelago as a potential colony as part of the Royal Scouting Commission of 1681. 72 such colonies have successfully been established as a result of those brave claws' efforts. By the King's graceful guidance, yours could be the 73rd such colony. Your most important building will be the trade dock. Without it, your colony cannot repay its debts. Therefore, I implore you to choose an island and construct your dock. Look for ample trees and berry bushes nearby.
All right. So as he just instructed, you are going to want an island that has berry bushes and trees, because without berry bushes and trees, it's going to be really hard to grow and build. In terms of the raw resources you're going to find ores, which you mine up and sell back to the company. You've got different fertilities of the soils, trees, and berries. And ideally what you want to do is you want to have like a pretty good amount of space settling. You don't want to be too far from trees either. I might, for the challenge, settle on this smaller island. I think it will be like cozier and more fun as a result. So let's do it. I am going to settle here. And of course, these islands are procedurally generated and random. So if you don't like what you get, you can always reroll it. Your whiskers, your starting 5, have arrived. So you click this icon, and then we can bring the whiskers ashore. And there's a population tax. Basically, everything is taxed in this game.
Warehouses are vital to preserving the market value of your tax contributions. Each warehouse has a limited capacity. Watch that you do not satiate your warehouse's capacity on worthless goods. Focus on storing resources that will benefit the kingdom. Logs, cotton, and ores. These goods will keep during long voyages and supply work for whiskers in the royal factories. To reduce carry distances, you should construct the included central warehouse schematic near your trade dock.
Okay, we've got our raffle timer up now, and the first thing we build is a central warehouse. Your central warehouse is the warehouse that you use to your primary warehouse to like ship things back to your bosses. I am going to put it here, maybe, yeah. And unpause the game. And then all of the currently unemployed mice in our colony become constructors. Now, I picked this island because it has large swaths of farmable land that I won't need a land clear because it takes a while to cut down trees, and it is less tiered than here. Plus, there's nothing really stopping us from exploiting the resources on the other island apart from travel distance. Okay, now that the warehouse is built, we're getting our first supply ship. Coming into the port. And it is offering us wood, hardtack, machinery, and woven cloaks.
Congratulations to you and your fellow colonists. Under commission of the king, it is my privilege to offer this colony charter. You embark on a mission worthy of the greatest of whiskers, and all of your kind shall thank you for your efforts. As you tame these wild lands and earn the payment for your taxes, you are doing more than any whisker before you. With your sweat, you secure the means by which some industrious whiskers might enjoy safety. Serve your king faithfully, and his peace will reign over these islands.
So as you can see below, resources, a subset of resources are accepted as payment to the king. Fish, berries, flax, logs, coal, cotton, copper ore, and gold ore. Alright. So here we are in this lovely island, and there will be more tutorials, but let me go over the UI just so you know what's going on. On the top left, we have got population and how many of those population are unemployed, or in this case, considered construction workers. You have approval. Approval allows you to accept new people, and approval is basically how happy your citizens are. We have royal wax seals, which allow you to like take special actions, like re-rolling the potential immigrants to your island, cook food, and fuel. Here we have the homelessness, and this will have alerts for other things as well, like pathing problems or work that doesn't have work. You've got logs, stone, planks, cut stone, machinery, but these aren't the only resources you can have. There's a lot of other resources as well. These are just the primary ones. On the bottom left, you've got the seasons. Primarily speaking, it's like winter is the only season that is different because it's cold and you have to provide heating for your mice or they die. And the current weather conditions. So in this case, it's clear skies, which means crops grow faster. Great. For buildings. Paths here provide a move speed bonus for your mice, which is fairly important. So pathing up commonly used areas is really smart to do, as well as path decorations if you want to make it fancy. So like lanterns and the like. Now these path decorations don't provide beauty, they're just a little flavor. There is the concept of beauty. In the pathing, you also have like stairs, ramps, etc. Storage and belts. Well, right now there's only storage because it's a demo, so there isn't like logistic hubs and conveyor belts and the like. But this helps to expand your storage beyond the central warehouse, which fills up rather quickly, as it only has a capacity of 233. Keeping in mind, of course, that things can be stacked. So if I put a storage down, I can put another storage on top of it, on top of it, on top of it. Much like Timberborn, you can build up to the Z levels. Extraction. It's pretty simple. Woodcutter. Woodcutters will cut down trees that you mark. They will also automatically cut down any trees that you farm. You got a forge hut for berries and flax, which is going to be your primary means of feeding yourself really early on in the game. But eventually, you should probably transition away from foraging because there's a finite amount of stuff to forage, and it doesn't grow back on its own. So get farming. The mining camp is probably the most important resource exploiter. because mining helps you pay your debts. Copper ore is worth considerable amounts, as is gold. And within the mountains, as you can imagine, there is a Z level here, and you can mine into the mountains for whatever resources are inside. So I can already see that there's like tin. But the real question is there more copper? Is there gold, etc.? All right, before I go any further, let's go ahead and name our initial 5 colonists. We have got Lara. Well, no, that's not how to spell Lara. We have got Scorpio. Bloody Death. Oh boy, that's not a good name for a miner. But okay. Let's hope you don't collapse. Kizura. The farmer. And last but not least, okay, I'll reroll that. Wishbringer. Okie dokie. So right as we start, what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to obtain a source of wood. Now there is some wood over here that we can exploit without stairwells. Stairs in this game are slow travel speed until you unlock the better stairs, which is the stone stairs. So going up and down Z levels takes a bit. It's not fast. And in being not fast, you should avoid doing it if you can. So let's go ahead and set up a woodcutter. And I'm going to set up a woodcutter here. And then I'm also going to set up a forge hut here, kind of facing one another, and really close to our central warehouse here. I'm also going to want a mining camp, and I'm going to set up the mining camp. Ooh, that's a good question. Where do I actually want this? I'll set up a mining camp over this way with the intent of exploiting the copper that I see over here pretty early on in the game. To that end, actually, I might want to put my forging camp that way as well, because there's berry bushes over there. Granted, they're kind of far away from our starting position, but I think that's fine. And the camps here can move once built. They're the only buildings that can, like, easily move. So it's not a big deal deciding where to put them. Now, we're going to want to solve our housing crisis relatively early, but it's probably not the most important thing to do right at the start. So I'm going to set up a chop priority for the trees that are on the shoreline here. And then I'm going to want to start to set up mining. So let's get the copper here. One interesting thing is if you mine out an edged, they'll build like a seawall.
Taxes to the crown is your primary responsibility. Most colonies pay their taxes with ores. Copper pays best, but coal is more plentiful. Desperate colonies will ship out their construction logs. You would be wise to choose the path of non-desperation. Build and fully assign 2 workers to at least 1 mining camp.
Alright, and if we accept this quest, our reward is another whisker. Okay, now that we have the woodcutter, there is the concept of certain people want certain jobs. So, for instance, an explorer here is particularly good as a woodcutter. The forgers also should be, as you can see, an explorer. And then miners are going to be from the mining guild. So now we have a quest to have 2 miners. So our second miner is going to be Wishbringer, who is not traditionally in the role.
Paying taxes to the crown is your...
And there we go. We got ourselves a new whisker. The new whisker is Muffin. They are also an explorer. That works out pretty well. And put a little raffle timer up for Muffin. Muffin I am going to employ as a woodcutter. I am going to want wood sooner than most other things. Alright, so the foraging hut is currently idle. That is because I haven't actually queued up things to forage, so I'm going to forage those berries. So we can keep ourselves fed. Now, one thing early on that you can do to help out a lot is it's very easy to source a lot of food from a fishing dock. Fish are not a very good export food for your whiskers. So selling fish to the crown is not so great. But the good news is fish will feed you. So what I'm going to do here is build a fishing dock. I'm actually going to move the woodcutter a little bit. It's over there. I'm going to build the fishing dock right up against this spot here. And that's going to be the primary way that I feed myself early on. And all of my logs are going to be invested in that. All right, here's another whisker ship. And a whisker ship is how you gain additional population. And I'm going to be choosy about this. So loners, for instance, do not like to work with other people. So they don't make for very good co-workers. So I'm not going to bring... I wanted miners, but I'm not going to bring in that one. And a heavy eater, I don't need someone that eats more than normal. Strong shoulders is fine for an explorer. And then Buttercup is fine as well. So I'm going to accept Dash and Buttercup. So we have yet another explorer. And we'll put them in as a forager. And I'm going to move the foraging hut a little bit closer to the foraged stuff to see if I can't get them to forage up there. Alternatively, I could build a ramp system up to the top of the hill to get them to forage up there. But I can see that they're already pathing out to the berries now. Now, foraging this stuff is not going to be very efficient, so transitioning my my foragers to other roles will be smart pretty early on. For the rest of the ones here, can't smell is fine for pollution, but I don't really want monarchists. And then a heavy eater, of course, we've already refused. So I'm going to send the ship away. The game will warn you at the end of the day, right before the ship leaves, it will pause and say, are you sure you don't want to add any more to your population? So it gives you like one final check. Now, really early on, we're going to want to start farming. So if you open up the resource exploit tool, you can see the fertility. So this is the fertility for berries, which is the most berries and trees. Trees can grow just about anywhere, and berries are very accepting of whatever terrain. You have flax, which is requires higher fertility, and the cotton, which requires the highest. So if you take a look here, I could grow cotton, especially if I got access to fertilizer, and especially at the top of the hill. As far as farming goes, I definitely picked the right island. This island is bigger, but it's far less farmable. And farming is one of the ways that you can make money in a renewable way by growing things like cotton to sell to the crown, because there's only so many, there's only so much ore and trees until you kind of run out. This, of course, is like really long term. Okay. So I think I am interested in growing berries out this way. Once we have plank wood. So the reason for that is farms require 8 planks, and for me to get that, I will need to get a sawmill. And a sawmill will cost machinery, and machinery is at the moment, because this is a demo and you can't, there's a limit to your research tree and what you have access to. Machinery is always imported by the crown. So that brings about a larger point, which is, in the current state of the demo, you kind of have to be a loyalist to the crown, because there's certain resources you're really not going to be able to get otherwise, like tea or machinery. And you rely upon machinery because your factories will break down without it. So in this series, I'm going to be loyal to the crown, but I can talk about some of the game mechanics of not being loyal. So if you click on the shipping dock here, you can see what is coming. So tomorrow, a supply ship is coming, then a tax collector, and a whisker ship, and then a supply ship. And it gives you time to know when taxes are due. And as you can see on the top here, I have 74 coin due, and I have nothing to sell in my storage at the moment. That will, of course, change when this mining camp delivers their copper ore to the main storage. So I'm not worried about being able to pay taxes. We'll be able to. Belhar and Vikar, thank you for the resubs. And Jacking and Crusty Rhino, cheers. All right, we are 2 logs away from having a fishing dock, and that will help us stay fed. And I think those logs are getting delivered right now. Speaking of which, we have a raffle to trigger, so let's go do that. Icarus. Templeton. And Air Dog. One more log. I do happen to have 2 farmers that are my current unemployed people, and they will make for really good fishermen. The farming guild is also who you want fishing. They just don't like raw food. So different, the preferences of your mice are dependent upon their guild that they belong to. It's worth noting. And already I have enough money to pay for the taxes. So, you needn't worry, we're good on that front. Now, every night, there is a leisure phase where your mice will eat, recreate, and then eventually sleep. One thing that is interesting is if you have an inefficiently laid out town where your mice can't do those things within the recreation phase, they might not actually physically get to their beds at night. So when you're planning out your living areas, you should cluster things together where they eat, recreate, and sleep roughly in the same vicinity. Otherwise, even people with homes will sleep out in the streets because they won't physically be able to commute home in time. So keep that in mind when you're planning. Additionally, it really helps to cluster your houses together because in the winter when you need to warm the houses, if they're all over the place, you're going to be spending an insane amount of timber, logs, in order to heat them. So it's really smart to cluster into big housing projects. And there we go. At the end of the day, we have day 1 ended. And it tallies up your positive and negative thoughts. And if you have more positive and negative, you gain approval. And the inverse is true. So if you have a colony that is going to hell, you end up with 0 approval. And that means you can't add in new people. We have slept outside is the primary negative thought. So tomorrow, it will be a good time to start to consider building houses. But let's start a new day. Oh, there was another thing that I wanted to show you in that screen, which is how satisfied the crown is. So, the TLDR is when you do tax deliveries, and I'll show you this when we do tax deliveries, there is a minimum amount that the crown asks for. If you exceed that amount, you're rewarded with things, and if you don't exceed that amount, you piss off the crown. And if you piss off the crown enough, they will raise your city. They will roll up with like battleships and just blow you up. There isn't a lot of recourse for that. I suspect in the full release, there will be a lot more opportunity for you to resist crown influence, but for the demo's sake, those mechanics do not exist, not yet. All right, now that we have a fishing dock, I'm going to assign 2 fishermen to work there. And that should build up our food supplies. And then I think what I'd like to do is my explorers are going to be transitioned away from foraging. Basically, there wasn't a lot of good stuff to forage on my starting location, so I'm going to have them stop entirely and shut down the forager. And even just like move the forager up here so it's out of the way. Oh, let's try that again. In lieu of mining. And the reason I want to start mining is going to allow me to build houses. Because I don't necessarily want to change the terrain of my island, because I like the way it's laid out, what I'm going to do as far as mining goes is I am going to set up a stair here. Actually, maybe let's try to condense this as much as possible. I'll set up stairs here and move my mining station right there. So it's just next to the central warehouse to make mining really efficient. And then what I want to do is I want to mine into this mountain like this. So I'm going to use V as in Victor and change the Z level and mine I'm actually going to mine all the way clear across the island, a tunnel, so that I can access the resources on the other side. And in doing so, I'm going to deselect the copper that I had queued up. So we'll mine out the last thing of copper, and then we'll transition over to mining stone. And I'm going to use that stone to then build houses. So here's the supply ship. Supply ships come fairly periodically, and what ends up happening is you can accept supplies for taxes. So I'll get like 5 hardtack, 5 tea, 1 machinery for money. Or debt, rather. I can refuse it, but refusing it loses the trust from the crown and can then eventually result in retaliations. In this case, I'm actually going to choose to get the bigger supply crate for more money because it has planks, and those planks can allow me to then start building a farmhouse. So I'll go more into debt, but for the sake of development. So I open up the farming tool. As established, we have pretty good farmland over in this neck of the woods over here. So I would like to set up a farmhouse. Let's open this up again. I'm going to lay out a berry zone. And your farmers can only handle a certain amount of fields until they are overtaxed. So I'm going to give them like 35. And that seems reasonable for the 2 farmers that can work here. And then we'll set up a farm there. And start working the land for berries. And then eventually maybe flax, because flax can be sold to the crown. Or if we gain access to fertilizer, we can grow cotton or even trees to replenish the trees that we're cutting down here. The crown says, "How dare you not take on extra debt?" Yeah, and that's pretty much what I did. I am also going to get a second mining camp going. I'm hoping to add some miners. The next time I'll have immigrants is tomorrow. And with any luck, we'll have some immigration. So as far as the houses goes, you've got log houses, which is a quality of 1, and stone shelters, which is a quality of 0. Stone shelters are going to be pretty fine for the start. It barely qualifies as a home, but it's like home enough. And let's see. This is pretty prime farmland, so I kind of don't want to disturb this soil. Which means if I am to build houses, I'm going to have to figure out exactly where I want to. Maybe build the houses around here. It really depends on my tech availability. I'm also going to fire one of my fishermen and put them in a farming job, so we can start cultivating this land over here. And there we go. As you can see, we are digging into the mountain. Now, you can build houses on pillars, which cost extra logs. So as you can see, the cost of this house is 3 stone, 2 logs. And the cost of this house is just 3 stone. So what I'm planning on doing is clustering my houses around here and then landfilling for more space. Which will take a while and also takes technology that I don't have access to just yet, but that will change. I could do cave homes. That's another possibility. However, the larger homes have higher height requirements, so cave homes can be a little tricky to accomplish. It's not to say that I don't want to do it. The problem is the speed at which we excavate stone isn't fast enough to keep up with our likely population growth. How do you see which houses can be stacked on one another? So when you go to the build tool, you'll see this like white ghosting, and that white ghosting is what can be stacked. So I can stack on the buildings that have like these roof tile indicators, which also means these homes. These homes don't have the white ghosting because they're not actually built yet. So day 2, kept people happy, good. And you have generated a high amount of approval from your whiskers. Build a town hall. Well, the town hall is locked in the demo, so that's a moot suggestion. I don't have the town hall schematic.
Other matters demand your attention. Housing is not a luxury. Some whiskers have already resorted to makeshift carps. I implore you to provide us shelter.
Okay, so they're asking for us to provide 5 houses. That's fine. What I'm going to do for now is to build 2 houses here, even though these aren't exactly where I want the houses in the long run, but it will do. And here is the tax collector. So this is how the tax collection works. We have the current satisfaction up top and how long I have to fulfill it. So if you don't immediately have enough money to cover your debts, you can wait a little bit longer in the day. When we sell things, it adds up to pay off our debts. So in this case, I would have to sell 1 fish, 5 berries, 5 logs, and 4 copper ore to send a full shipment of 176 debt to the crown. I think in this case, and as you can see, this gives me a 50% chance for a schematic. I'll maybe get planks, hardtack, fuel, or other as a reward. And my satisfaction goes up, my royal seal waxes go up. If I fulfilled more, I would get more benefits, right? What I think I'm going to do in this case is try to mine up some more copper to see if I can't rush to make more money for the crown to get schematics, because early on schematics are kind of important. So if you look at schematics like a coal furnace or a smokery, they're going to allow you to produce more complex goods, which are going to keep people happier. There is a research tree here, and in the research tree you can spend raw resources to unlock the schematics, like planks. So a stone dump would cost 55 planks. As you can imagine, getting the schematic for a stone dump is going to be so much better than spending the 55 planks to unlock it. So that's why I think it's in our best interest to try to suck up to the crown for the schematics, because it gives us a hell of a lot of freebies. So we'll rush to get some copper to try to keep them happy. And then once there's copper delivered to these mining camps, I can deliver now. There's already 2 copper in this mining camp, which should help out a lot. Yes, there is a pirate blockade in 3 days, indeed. Pirates. And the Whiskers ship that is bringing new immigrants is like waiting until the tax collector goes away. Okay, we just delivered the copper. I see my storage money gone up a lot. So let's see if we can't adjust this better. Here we go. So here, large shipment gives us a guaranteed schematic. I'm not going to go for like the full shipment. Large works. Here we go. Large shipment is away. The Claw delegation is going to be happier with us as a result, and with any luck, we'll have some really good immigrants coming in. I also earned Royal Wax Seals. Royal Wax Seals allow you to, like, re-roll your, the people on the boat. Alright, Whisker Ship. So here, as you can see, you can re-roll them. I really wanted a farming guild person, and here we have one. And I also really wanted a miner, and this miner is, sickly. So I'm going to re-roll. We got a miner who's rude and a miner who snores. The miner who snores is fine. And then a swift optimist farmer, I like it. And then a warm core explorer, I like that too. So 1, 2, 3, and the engineer, 4. That's a lot of people. Let's make sure to keep them fed. So a second farmer, or actually, I'm going to do a second fisherman. And we'll reject the rude one. It also means we have a giveaway. Another one. Above my head. And I think I'm going to spend a little bit of time mining up some more copper for the next tax. But here we go. Here is our gifts. So I can choose 2. I am going to choose the plank row house schematic, and then the spare scrap, which is cut stone and planks. Although, given that I have 0 machinery, maybe I should have taken machinery, but that won't be a problem soon.
Other matters demand your
the reward for providing houses is some stone. Or some planks, rather. So let's start mining that as well. The plank row house is a tier 2 quality house. But I certainly don't have the planks or plank production to accommodate people to live in such nice houses yet. Now, my goal was to provide 5 houses, but obviously I have 10 people, so I'm going to want to do more than that. And then our currently unemployed is an explorer, an engineer, and an explorer. I think what I'll do with this explorer is to start forging the flax that's here, because we can turn that flax into clothing to clothe us for the winter, or to sell the flax to the crown, and it will clear out the area for farming in this area later on. So it's a good use of that explorer. So I have 2 current unemployed. I'll employ another navigator in the forge hut, so then our only unemployed is an engineer who is going to be acting as our builder. Okay, approval barely broke even, so my population growth is going to be really hard to deal with. I'm not going to be able to accept a lot of people unless I start to provide houses. So we'll make a bigger push for houses. Today we have a supply ship coming, and then tomorrow a tax collector and a whisker ship. And we do have some low food warnings.
There have been reports of pirates' ransom demands in your part of the world. Under no circumstances are you to yield, or to even consider paying their exaction. Should your colony survive, report back the pirates' shakedown tactics. There have been reports of pirates' ransom demands in your part of the world. Under no circumstances.
So if we accept this quest, we gain machinery. I have 0 machinery, so I'm going to accept it. We're going to refuse to negotiate with the pirates, at least for the first time, because the machinery is really handy to have. So, a new supply ship, and I'm going to take the base supplies here for the hardtack and the tea. Because your whiskers want to drink tea, and in the demo, you have no means to produce it as far as I'm aware. So, because you don't have like a tea roaster. Which means we rely upon the crown. You know, maybe in the future we'll have a tea party. a Boston-style tea party, but as far as I'm aware, that mechanic isn't in the game yet. So still working on the housing space, but we are providing the stone for it by mining out this this tunnel. All right, raffle timer, 35 seconds left, and good luck. We have a bunch new, 3 new to raffle off. I think as a stopgap measure, I might just, oh, maybe not there. I might just build some extra homes, even though these aren't going to be permanent locations, just to put roofs over people's heads. Do you want to check how the tunnel emerges on the other side? Yeah, it emerges like this. I can obviously remove some of that extra mining because it goes through. So instead, what I could do is pivot like this to have it emerge here where there's not a disruption of fertile soil. Not that I'm likely to mine that spot. Okay. We have got a Shona. Oh god, they reordered. No, don't do that! At a million. And a Sundays. Oh, there's even more, actually. Because Splotch is the only one that hasn't been named. I should, when they come in, I'll just rename them unnamed. Alright, you are Kadath. Kadath, I'm sorry, but you snore. Also, it's worth noting, for one approval, you can pick up a whisker, so if they get stuck somewhere, there's like a God Hand unstuck command that costs you an approval point, which could be really useful if you build them into a corner or mine them into a corner, something like that. So we managed to get 4 houses, but not all 5 that we were hoping to get, unfortunately. But there'll be time tomorrow to bump those numbers up. Thank you for tuning in to Whiskerwood, which originally streamed live on Twitch. If you have any feedback or questions for me, let me know in the comments below. If you'd like to catch a live stream of mine, Rhadamant.com has my stream schedule and countdown timers to upcoming streams. If you'd like to join my online gaming community on Discord, Rhadamant.com has a link to it, as does the description of this video. Thank you so very much for watching. Special thank you to my Twitch subscribers, Patreon patrons, and viewers like you that support the channel and made it all the way to the credits. Thank you so very much. I hope to catch you next episode or an upcoming stream. Farewell, fellow mice kind.